Hello. It's me and my baby again, Tess.
Hi.
The professional makeup artist. We are doing a series of videos. We've already posted one. This is our second one to coincide with my podcast, Sweaty and Pissed. And she's doing a series for us to talk about makeup tips and skin tips and all of that for women perimenopausal and menopausal age. But I guess it would go for anybody, wouldn't it?
Absolutely.
And I just want to explain why my hair looks like it's been chewed off by a dog. I took a long bath last night and then put it up in a wad and then fell sound asleep as the UT balls were winning and we won. And then I wallered my dog all night. Gigi stayed up all night howling and wallering. So I just want to explain to y'all why I'm a saint. Okay, let it rip, tater chip.
Let it rip, tater chip. Okay, so like we explained in the last video and on the podcast, we've already prepped our skin with moisturizer and eye cream. And now we're going to go with foundation. And I'm using the Tom Ford Traceless Foundation Stick in the color 6.5 Sable. And I really like this foundation because it looks very skin-like.
We love it.
We love it. Love it, love it. And I love this one because it looks like skin, but it still gives you a really good amount of coverage. So I go in with a brush. My kind of duo is a brush and a sponge. This one is the Sephora Pro Foundation brush, number 56. I love something like this. It's a little bit denser, or something like this. It's got a little bit of density to it, so you can really get the full coverage that you want. And I like to start in the middle, because that's where usually you want the most coverage because of redness. And then I like to blend outwards. And around the nose, if you have pores or anything like that, if you take a brush and go in circular motions, it kind of buffs the product in and fills in those pores and gives you a smooth finish.
And I use my fingers, and it makes her so mad she gets spit.
You can use your you can
I'm from the
absolutely
80s.
You can absolutely use your fingers as long as they're clean hands, obviously, and they're good. I think you can get a better finish.
I know you can. I'm wrong.
With a brush.
And it's hard to cover up all those pores. My pores are getting bigger by the day.
If you're just going on a day-to-day on a rush, put your fingers in it. That's fine. If it's more of a liquid. If you're using a stick foundation or anything a little bit thicker, you're just not going to be able to get as smooth of a finish.
But we talked about on the podcast how we both love a tinted moisturizer, and I use that really for every day. This is more of, I use this more for a special occasion or a stage, even though it's very light.
It's very light.
But
and if
to get in the car and go to the grocery store, I love a tinted moisturizer, and we talked about how we love Laura Mercier.
And one of my favorite tips, and we said this in the podcast, if you take your foundation and you don't want it as full coverage or as thick for a day-to-day, you can add in a little bit of your moisturizer and make your own homemade tinted moisturizer.
Oh.
Mm-hmm.
I forgot you had said that.
I did. It's okay. Menopause. You forget things. It's fine.
Mm-hmm.
And if you have oilier skin, you can actually mix in your primer and make like a tinted primer, which will do the same thing.
Oh.
So I went over with the brush first to get kind of my base of coverage. And then to make it look more skin-like and add a little bit of moisture into the skin, I'm going with a damp sponge. And this is the Real Technique ones. You can get them at Target or the drugstore, and they're really cheap, but they're really, really effective. Always blend down that jawline onto the neck. We don't want a line. We don't want a mask. And I'll go with the foundation a little bit under the eyes, but for mature skin, you don't want to go a lot of foundation and then concealer because you're going to see more of those fine lines and it's going to make you look more dry. So I like to just feather a little bit of it towards the eye. And then for concealer, we are obsessed and love the Tarte Shape Tape. This is in the color 22N Light Neutral. I love this because it's full coverage and it dries down like semi-matte, so you don't have to set it with too much powder, but it doesn't dry out your under eye, especially if you prep with eye cream. And I go really light. I just really just tap kind of in that triangle kind of shape. I don't go too close to the lash line because you can blend up the product so that you don't look cakey or it's not too thick. And if you're a little red or anything like that, go around the nose.
You know, my COVID acne's gone. You know, remember when COVID first hit? I think it was the stress of it all. I had acne, adult acne, and I had to go to my dermatologist during the beginning of COVID.
And a lot of people are getting like acne underneath their masks from wearing a mask over and over. Which a fun tip for that is if you get a salicylic acid spray, and I think they have them all over. They have them at Sephora, Target has some brands that have them. And if you spray it on the inside of your mask, it keeps you from breaking out underneath your mask. So for concealer, I like to go in with a sponge because I think it adds moisture and it gives you a really smooth finish. I think a brush can sometimes be a little too thick for such a delicate area. But then if you also have a brush and you don't have a sponge, really light, feathery motions, not a lot of pressure, because you don't want to lift up any of the product that you put on underneath. Okay.
That makes me sleepy. But it's because I've been up all night with the dog.
Okay. Getting your makeup done is so relaxing. I always have people fall asleep in my chair, and I take it up as a compliment. Okay. All right, and if you're somebody that has really pigmented or really veiny eyelids, you can also take your concealer up there, but don't do too much because then it can weigh down the eyelid. So what I like to do as a fun tip is put a little bit on the back of my hand and then take my sponge from the back of my hand.
Show your back of your hand.
Back of my hand, and just take a tiny little bit and then close for me. And this will just give you a really good base for eyeshadow, especially if you're somebody that feels like it just slips off throughout the day. This is a good way to prime the eyelids. And there you go, now you have your base on.
Yay, is that it for that?
That's it.
Give me a high five.
High five.
Okay, thank y'all for listening. She will tag all the necessary info.
Yes.
Okay, bye.
Bye.
I'm gonna take a nap.